WNBA and the Indiana Fever did not want people to know that CaitlinClark was going to be out for the season. I can tell you, from the very day that they decided to let that go public, everything has dropped off a cliff.
So, the WNBA has now officially entered comedy stage. Ratings collapse, ticket sales nosedive, and suddenly the Indiana Fever are being asked, no, let's be real, forced to play in Atlanta. All because CaitlinClark is out. The league assumed fans wouldn't notice, but newsflash, they did. And now we're watching the circus unravel in real time. Here's the real question. Could the WNBA even survive a full season without CaitlinClark? Drop your thoughts below. Because let's not sugarcoat this. The league is desperate. The numbers expose everything. From the second Clark's season-ending injury went public, interest didn't slide. It plummeted straight off a cliff. 1 week, arenas were packed, ESPN was flexing about record-breaking viewership, and fans were crossing state lines just to see Indiana play. The next, empty seats, weak applause, and TV ratings that look more like late-night reruns than professional sports.
Trying to hang on to the possibility this whole time. Look, so many people stayed engaged with the team because they thought the cavalry was coming. She's coming back. We're going to have a fighting chance to win the WNBA championship. The Indiana Fever and the WNBA, they knew this.
And now the league thinks moving Indiana's games to Atlanta is somehow the fix. Atlanta? Really? As if changing the venue magically solves losing your star player. That's not problem solving, that's panic dialing. Let's rewind. When Clark was healthy, the WNBA had its golden ticket. ESPN plastered her everywhere. Every game she played pulled ratings the league hadn't seen in decades. Millions of viewers. Social media on fire. Highlights going viral. The Fever weren't just another team. They were the team. Every road game felt like a home game because fans showed up for her. But here's the kicker. The WNBA and the Fever front office knew she wasn't coming back. And they sat on it. They dangled false hope in front of fans, letting people believe she might return for a playoff push. Why? Because they knew the moment the truth dropped, the bubble would burst. And guess what? It did. Just look at Baltimore. Nearly 3,000 ticket-holding fans never showed up. Think about that. They already paid, already had seats, and still said, nah, not worth it. That's not just disinterest, that's betrayal. Fans thought they were signing up for CaitlinClark. Instead, they got WNBA light and no refund policy in sight.
People felt like they were going to games thinking this team would have CaitlinClark coming back to make a championship run. I mean, the perfect example, the game in Baltimore the other day with the Mystics. Nearly 3,000 fans decided not to show up, and they paid for the ticket.
And now we've got ESPN out here pretending everything's fine. They trot out numbers about year-over-year growth and highest average viewership in decades. Cute, but let's tell the full truth. Those big spikes, that wasn't the WNBA, it was CaitlinClark. She was the headliner, the viral highlight machine, the reason casual fans tuned in. Without her, you're left with a 90,000 viewer snooze fest between teams nobody outside their own zip code cares about. To put that in perspective, one of the league's so-called hyped matchups drew less than 100,000 viewers. That's YouTuber territory. Heck, some high school state championships do bigger numbers. And yet the league wants to parade around like the sky isn't falling. Spoiler alert, the sky is falling.
But before CaitlinClark's season-ending injury, WNBA tickets were averaging $89. The moment she went down, price crashed nearly 30%, plummeting to $62 a seat. That's kind of crazy. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but obviously the biggest reason is CaitlinClark. CaitlinClark literally being out, and again, she's only on one team, but a very big chunk of the total attendance in WNBA is from the Indiana.
This is Kathy Engelbert's worst nightmare. She bet the house on proving the WNBA could survive beyond one player. Except now it's painfully clear one player is the league. Without CaitlinClark, the WNBA isn't trending, isn't buzzing, isn't even part of the casual sports conversation. And the league's big fix? Moving Indiana Fever games to Atlanta. Oh sure, because nothing screams we believe in our product like uprooting a team just to squeeze out a few extra ticket sales in another market. Do they really think Atlanta fans are going to magically care about Indiana without Clark? What's next? Free hot dogs with every seat. The math doesn't add up. And here's the kicker. This isn't new. We've seen it before. Remember when the NBA tried forcing certain markets into relevance for TV deals? It backfired then, and it's backfiring now. You can't fake demand. Fans either care or they don't. And right now, without CaitlinClark, they don't.
So yeah, a lot of teams, whether it be the Lynx opening the upper bowl, whether it be the Wings, the Dream, the Sky, all of these teams moving games. All of these teams are moving games for the Indiana Fever, regardless of who it is. They all have to sell those seats. And a lot of people don't want to go, and it's super cheap. Like, it's a lot easier to fill a 10,000 seat arena without CaitlinClark than to fill 20,000. So you're going to have to find a way to do it anyway, which is what a lot of people are going to be doing, trying to sell tickets. The seats for the playoffs, I would say the Indiana Fever playoff seats would have been, honestly, like nearly $1,000 in. I actually think had CaitlinClark been playing, it would be near.
Let's talk numbers again. Before her injury announcement, the Fever vs. Sky game with Clark and Angel Reese pulled 2.7 million viewers, more than some MLB primetime matchups. After her injury, Fever vs. Mystic scraped together just 270,000. Fever vs. Lynx barely crossed 1 million. And those so-called big markets like New York and Vegas, they aren't moving the needle either. AJA Wilson can absolutely ball, no doubt. But if the casual fan doesn't know her, doesn't care, that's the brutal reality. And you know who feels it more than anyone? The players. Don't think they haven't noticed the empty arenas, the sudden silence online, or that ESPN isn't blasting their highlights like they did with Clark. Angel Reese is out here sulking, half playing, half checking out. Teams are throwing shade, but deep down, they know their checks look bigger only because Clark exists. Without her, those checks shrink. And here's the bottom line. The WNBA tied its entire relevance to one player, and now that player's sidelined. The panic move. Ship the Fever to Atlanta because maybe, just maybe, a new market will distract from the reality that fans aren't tuning in. It's smoke and mirrors, and it's not fooling anyone. Half-full arenas don't lie. Players aren't clueless, they feel the energy shift. With Clark on the floor, every possession felt like it mattered. Every foul drew roars or boos like it was a playoff game. Now, you can hear sneakers squeaking louder than the crowd. That's not atmosphere, that's dead air. Take Angel Reese as an example. 1 week, she's the media's darling. The next, she's branded the face of the league, and then suddenly she's protesting minutes, sitting out with tightness, or rumored to be unhappy with her team. And the wildest part, almost nobody outside the WNBA's diehard Twitter bubble even cares. Because here's the hard truth. Fans tuned in for Clark, not the endless soap opera. The league can hype whoever they want, but you can't manufacture interest. AJA Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, elite talents, no question. But when their games air without Clark, the ratings tell the story. 130,000 viewers, maybe 200,000 if ESPN begs hard enough. And if that's supposed to be the future of women's basketball, the future looks bleak. Which brings us back to this Atlanta stunt. What does forcing the Fever to play there actually solve? Atlanta isn't exactly famous for packing arenas when it comes to WNBA games. Their own team has been fighting for years just to gain traction. So now the league wants us to believe Indiana's starless roster is suddenly going to draw crowds in a city that barely shows up for its own squad. That's not a strategy, that's smoke and mirrors. You want to know the real reason. Optics. The WNBA doesn't want cameras panning across empty rows in Indiana. Empty seats expose the truth. Ratings don't spin. Move the Fever to Atlanta, shuffle some tickets to sponsors, comp half the arena, and suddenly the broadcast doesn't feel like a funeral. It's not about fans, it's about optics. What makes this sting worse is how the WNBA spent all summer chest thumping about growth. ESPN plastered graphics about record averages, about how CaitlinClark lifted all boats. But those boats were leaking. The second she went down, the water poured in, and now they are bailing with Dixie cups. And fans aren't blind. They see it. You can only sell the illusion for so long before reality smacks. That Baltimore no-show with 3,000 empty seats wasn't just a fluke, it was fans voting with their feet. People are tired of being sold excitement where none exists. Even the old narrative about Clark being just one player is crumbling. Remember when critics insisted the WNBA was bigger than her, that culture and legacy stars mattered more? Ratings have ripped that idea to shreds, because the moment she's gone, the league practically vanishes. Let's be real. The WNBA has a dependency problem. CaitlinClark isn't just another player, she's the oxygen tank. Pull her out and the room goes silent. Shifting Indiana games to Atlanta won't fix that. It's like moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Sure, the chairs look new, but the ship is still sinking. And the wildest part is how short-sighted it all feels. Instead of spreading the spotlight and creating lasting excitement around multiple stars, the league doubled down on Clark while pretending it didn't. And that's exactly how we ended up here. A league bragging about record ratings on one hand, while quietly panicking over half-empty arenas and fans tuning out on the other. And the hypocrisy? Don't even get me started. Media voices keep lecturing fans that they should support women's basketball no matter what, even without Clark. But let's be honest, that pitch has been made before. Remember those support women's sports because it's the right thing campaigns? Guilt doesn't sell tickets. Guilt doesn't drive ratings. Fans want entertainment, not lectures. Clark delivered that. Without her, the product feels flat. Now, zoom out for a second. Sports leagues have always risen and fallen on stars. That's nothing new. The NBA had Jordan, then LeBron, then Curry. The NFL had Brady, now Mahomes. Baseball had Bonds, Jeter, and others. Stars are the currency. But here's the key difference. Those leagues figured out how to market multiple stars at once. When Jordan retired, the NBA already had Shaq, Kobe, and Iverson ready to take the torch. When Brady slowed down, Mahomes stepped right in. The WNBA, they shoved all their chips behind Clark without ever admitting it. And now, instead of a next star-up moment, we're staring at an empty stage. The other names simply aren't moving the needle in mainstream conversation. That's not a critique of talent. It's just the truth. So here's the million-dollar question. What happens if Clark isn't fully ready next season? Do ratings nosedive again? Do they scramble to shove more games into neutral arenas? Or do they finally face reality that without her, the league is running on fumes? Because here's the thing, the WNBA had gold in their hands. A tidal wave of attention, viral highlights, ESPN segments, record crowds. And instead of building something solid for the long run, they drained Clark dry. The second she's gone, the cracks show. That's not growth. That's dependency. And fans won't hang around out of pity. If your league only matters when one player shows up, then maybe it's time to admit what it is, a niche built around a single star. And that's fine if you own it, but pretending otherwise, that's insulting. And this Atlanta stunt, that's where the truth shows up. If those Atlanta games tank in attendance and ratings, the league has nowhere left to hide. And if they somehow sell out, let's be honest, that's comp tickets, not real demand. Either way, the desperation is impossible to miss. At this point, the Women's National Basketball Association might as well rebrand itself the Clark National Basketball Association. They can deny it, but the receipts are there. Without her, ratings nosedive, arenas echo, and ESPN is forced to recycle old Clark highlights just to keep fans awake. The league can spin, shuffle teams around, and plaster PR campaigns across every screen. But the truth is glaring. CaitlinClark is the sun, and without her, this league sits in the dark. So there it is, the WNBA scrambling, dragging Indiana games to Atlanta, hoping no one notices the ratings collapse without their star. Spoiler alert, we noticed. The panic is real, and the league looks completely lost without CaitlinClark. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, do me a favor, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, And don't forget to subscribe for more no-filter sports takes.